Final Fantasy is reprinting modern staples into standard. And no, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not talking about guesses of cards with modern power levels about them. I mean, they are literally reprinting modern staples into standard. Dark Confidant is in standard. This literally was the card that they put in Modern Masters sets in order to sell packs. And Modern Masters sets multiple. Buy our overpriced packs of Double Masters, it's got Dark Confidant in it, modern staple. And now the legend itself, actual factual Dark Confidant, the great one, the card designed by Magic legend Bob Marr himself, is getting reprinted in Final Fantasy. For those of you who weren't alive the last time Dark Confidant was in Standard, Bob is a 2-mana, 2/1 black human wizard with a fantastic upkeep trigger. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to its mana cost. For years, well, for over a decade really, Dark Confidant has struck fear in the hearts of many Magic the Gathering players. If your opponent plays a Dark Confidant on turn 2 and you don't have an answer immediately, the card advantage that Bob provides will bury you in no time. In other words, one of the strongest creatures of all time is about to be standard legal for the first time in nearly 20 years. But here's the crazy part. Many Magic the Gathering players ask the question, is Dark Confidant too slow for standard these days? No, seriously, think about it. Going into Final Fantasy, Standard is first and foremost dominated by Is It Prowess, headlined by the absurd Corey Steelcutter, which somehow flew under the radar of the majority of Magic the Gathering players, not to mention content creators, during Tarkir Dragonstorm preview season. Seriously, was there anyone out there who predicted that Corey Steelcutter would be broken in Standard? Oh, wait! Alright, I've saved the best for last. The most powerful new card for Standard from Tarkir Dragonstorm is Corey Steelcutter. Okay, I'm not here to toot my own horn any more than I usually do. Look, our head writer is literally playing on the Pro Tour as this video airs, so I'm gonna brag about the quality of our content a little bit, okay? But I'm really here to evaluate Dark Confidant's viability in a Corey Steelcutter world. With Corey Steelcutter going under you on one end of the format and the Zur Overlord tandem going over you on the other, where exactly does Dark Confidant fit in? Historically, Dark Confidant has been a great threat in a mid-range deck, backed up by cheap interaction. But what does mid-range in the current Standard meta even mean? The closest thing Standard has to a traditional mid-range deck at the moment is the Black Demons deck, whose current card advantage engine of choice is Unholy Annex / Ritual Chamber. But you really can't run Dark Confidant in a deck with Unholy Annex Ritual Chamber unless you're comfortable hitting yourself in the head for 8 damage from time to time. What's more, Standard is full of strong 1-mana interaction that doesn't have a ton of targets against the Demon's deck. In other words, your opponents will surely have a Torch the Tower or Cut Down available to answer Dark Confidant before he can draw you even a single card. But there is one place I can imagine Dark Confidant seeing some play. In a more aggressive black deck that's full of cheap creatures your opponents have to answer if they don't want to die. If Bob is one of several must-answer cards at a low mana value, maybe he's more likely to stick around. And with a low curve, the damage you take off of his card advantage could be mitigated to some extent. I don't know if Dark Confidant can keep up with the pace of Standard in 2025, but if he can, I believe a more aggressive deck is the way to do it. But what about the rest of Final Fantasy? Are there other cards in the set that could make waves in Standard? Absolutely there are. In fact, I believe this set is positively juiced with good cards for Standard. Several of the great cards I've discussed in my previous video on the best cards for non-rotating constructed formats are likely to be great in Standard as well, such as Vivi Orniter, Cloud Midgard Mercenary, and Sephiroth Fabled Soldier. If you haven't yet watched that video, you should do so now, or perhaps immediately after this video, link in the description. But in this video, I want to talk about cards that I haven't yet talked about. So cards that I mentioned in that other video, I will be ignoring here. Compiled here instead are my 5 picks for the best Standard cards from Final Fantasy, not named Dark Confidant or Vivi, Cloud, or Sephiroth. Let's dive in, shall we? But first, how well are you sleeping at night? You know, I used to have the hardest time getting to sleep. Seriously, I was constantly stressed, I struggled to sleep through the night, and my old mattress, oh my God, the thing was a monstrosity. But that's all in the past because for years now, I've been sleeping on a mattress from Helix, sponsor of today's video, and it has truly changed my life. Helix makes premium mattresses customized to your individual sleep needs and delivered directly to your door. No going down to the overlit mattress store to haggle with some salesperson while you lie on various generic mattresses in your clothes and shoes trying to imagine what an actual night's sleep would be like on them. Then you end up picking out one at random and pay all these extra money to have it brought to your house, only to find that after sleeping on it for a few nights that you've made a horrible mistake. Well, not anymore. Getting your Helix mattress is simple. You take their online sleep quiz. It matches you to the perfect mattress based on your body type and sleep preferences. I'm a back sleeper who needs a firmer mattress, so my quiz paired me with the Helix Luxe Dusk mattress. And Helix ships it to you for free if you're within the United States. Then you get 100 nights sleeping on your new mattress to ensure you actually love it. And if you don't, no problem, send it back and get a refund, but I think you will love it because I love mine. I really, really love mine. And look, maybe you don't want to buy a whole new mattress. Maybe you just got your current one recently, and while you don't love it, you can't quite justify throwing it out. Well, don't worry, Helix has you covered too. Or rather, they have your mattress covered with the Helix Mattress Topper collection. From the dual comfort mattress topper for couples with different sleep preferences, to the premium memory foam mattress topper for sleepers who need added pressure relief at their hips and shoulders, the Mattress Topper collection is a great option to upgrade your sleep without throwing out your current bed. Now is a great time to start getting better sleep thanks to Helix's 4th of July exclusive partner offer. That's because right now, if you use my URL, you can get 27% off site-wide. Just go to helixsleep.com/Tolarian for this exclusive offer. A better night's sleep is not far away. Thanks, Helix, for sponsoring this video. So what are the top 5 cards for Standard from Final Fantasy? That aren't Dark Confidant anyway? Well, number 5 is Sazh Chocobo, an itty-bitty 0/1 birdie for 1 green mana, but it doesn't take long for this bird to get real big. Sazh Chocobo has a landfall trigger. When a land enters play, put a +1/+1 counter on it. All on its own, this little Chocobo isn't the biggest threat. After all, it takes 3 landfall triggers to get it out of range of a cut down or a bargained Torch the Tower. But with Fabled Passage and Escape Tunnel, you can trigger the bird twice with a single land drop. And now that Final Fantasy has hit Standard, there are a lot of cards that are very much like Sazh Chocobo. For example, there's Bristly Bill, who quietly hung out on the fringes of Standard since his printing way back in Thunder Junction. Then there's 2 more cards from Final Fantasy. Ride the Shoepuff, which does a very similar thing to Bristly Bill, and Tifa Lockhart, another card I talked about for Modern that could be a player in Standard as well. Essentially, these 4 cards could easily form the backbone of an extremely powerful landfall deck. The reason Sazh's Chocobo gets the credit on this list, though, is not because it's the most powerful of these cards. It's because its existence is, in my humble opinion, that is not so humble, the reason these other cards are going to be good. You see, without Sazh's Chocobo, we'd be looking at a trio of 2 mana cards that are good if left unanswered, but that opponents would not have much trouble answering, at least in the case of Bill and Tifa. These cards benefit tremendously from having a threatening 1-drop to play out ahead of them to draw the first wave of your opponent's removal. And if your opponent is savvy enough to hold their removal for the more impactful Bill or Tifa, well, your little Chocobo will be more than happy to stick around and peck your opponent to death all on its own. It's a classic case of damned if you do, damned if you don't. As the only 1-mana creature in this package of landfall aggro cards, Sazh's Chocobo wins the underrated but most valuable player award in my book. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that Sazh's Chocobo is the enabler for Bill and Tifa's excellent adventure. No way! Yes way! And we've got another green creature for you at number 4, though this one serves an entirely different function from Sazh's Chocobo. Town Greeter, also known as the second coming of Satyr Wayfinder, is a 1/1 for 1 and a green that reads, when this card enters, mill 4 cards. You may put a land from among them into your hand. If it's a town, gain 2 life. If Sazh's Chocobo is a subtle enabler for a landfall aggro deck, then Town Greeter is a not-so-subtle enabler for any graveyard deck. How do I know Town Greeter is such a good card? Well, that's because Satyr Wayfinder is a really, really good card. It was great in its standard format, and it's even seen some play in Pioneer in Dredgeless Dredge strategies, not to mention Abzan Greasefang and the longtime dominant Sultai Delirium deck, where it helped get you Delirium, fixed your mana, and fueled the escape fodder for the broken Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath. A card that fills up your graveyard while helping you hit your land drops, and even fix your mana to a certain extent, all attached to a 1/1 body that can chump block or be sacrificed for value later? Well, that's just a really, really great card. And functionally, Town Greeter does the exact same thing as Satyr Wayfinder, with the added bonus of gaining you 2 life if you happen to pick up a town with its ability. Now, that bonus won't come up that often, but there are actually some standard playable towns in Final Fantasy, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Town Greeter has a number of self-mill loving homes it can plug straight into. There's the Golgari Insidious Roots deck, the Golgari Graveyard Beans deck, and the Agatha's Soul Cauldron combo decks. There's also a potential Raise the Past Aristocrats deck, not to mention the ever-present possibility of something new emerging now that we have this amazing new option. Standard has been sorely missing a card like Town Greeter of this power level. The previous best versions of this effect, like Blanchwood Prowler, are significantly weaker than Town Greeter. But even they saw play in decks like Golgari Beans and Insidious Roots that were desperate for an effect like this to function. Those decks just got a huge upgrade in Satyr Wayfinder, Town Greeter. All right, number 3 on this list might be one of the most powerful 1-drop creatures that Standard has ever seen. Cecil, Dark Knight, is a 2/3 human knight legend that only costs a single black mana. Cecil has Death Touch, but also a serious downside damage-based trigger. When he deals damage, you lose that much life. But, if you then have half your starting life total or less, you get to transform Cecil and untap him. Then look at this guy. A 4/4 lifelinker that reads, when Cecil attacks, other attacking creatures gain indestructible. Don't get me wrong, the drawback to Cecil is very extremely real. Losing 2 life whenever he deals damage really sucks, especially because it happens even if he's only dealing damage to a creature, like when he's blocked or even when he's blocking. But don't worry, it's temporary. 10 life is still plenty of life, and when you hit that threshold, you've got a big ol' 4/4 lifelinker in play, and it's even untapped and ready to block if need be. Cecil, Dark Knight, is a fascinating card to evaluate. It's obviously intended to be aggressive, as only an aggressive deck would be willing to deal itself 10 damage in order to deal its opponent 10. There's a ton of risk associated with this, of course, as your opponent can wait until Cecil is about to flip before killing him, leaving you down 10 life in what could be a tight racing situation. But the payoff for hitting the transformation threshold is huge, and even before you transform Cecil, a 1-mana 2/3 with Death Touch is a really big body. You could, for instance, pair Cecil with natural lifelinkers like Deep Cavern Bat, with no intention of ever actually flipping him, as you're mitigating the life you lose with the life gained by Deep Cavern Bat's lifelink. You could also pair him with cards that want your life total low, such as The Last Ride from good old Aether Drift. Cecil Dark Knight is the quintessential puzzle card. It's clearly strong, but you have to figure out the optimal way to build around him to maximize his upside and mitigate his downside. If you can pull that off, you'll be left with the most busted creature in Standard, bar none. All right, we're down to the final 2 picks on our list. Can you guess what they are? Coming in at number 2? Well... Coming in at number 2 is Joshua. I just love that a couple of these cards have names like Cecil and Joshua. Can I call him Josh? I'm gonna call him Josh. Well, whatever you call him, he's a Phoenix dominant and an absolute house of a 3-mana gold card. Josh is a 3/4 human noble wizard for 1 generic and 1 of each Boros mana. When he enters play, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. In other words, a similar enter the battlefield effect to the standard powerhouse Tersa Light's Shatter. But But instead of haste or Tersa's fancy attack trigger, Joshua has a different trick up his sleeve. At sorcery speed, you may pay 5 mana and untap him to exile Joshua and return him to the battlefield transformed as Phoenix Wright, attorney at law. Wait a minute. Objection! It's actually Phoenix, Warden of Fire. Gosh, I hope I didn't accidentally spoil an upcoming Universes Beyond set just now. Phoenix is one of the new saga creatures from Final Fantasy. This one has 3 chapter abilities. The first 2 deal 2 damage to each opponent. His third ability reads, return any number of target creatures with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then exile Phoenix and return it on its front side as Joshua. Oh, and Phoenix is also a 4/4 with flying and lifelink, so that 2 damage it deals for the first 2 chapters also gains you 2 life. Pretty sweet, huh? There's a lot to unpack with this card. Its ETB effect gives it some solid value right out of the gate, and its 3/4 stat line means you can't really answer Josh with any of the premier 1 mana removal spells in Standard. His flip side is also really good, putting on a ton of pressure and building up a mass reanimate spell that will leave you very far ahead on resources, provided of course that you have stuff in the yard to bring back. And in the right deck, you're not going to have any trouble doing that. How do I know? Because the right deck already exists. Boros Monument was a fringe deck during the most recent Standard Regional Championship circuit, but the deck is capable of a lot of powerful stuff. Pairing Monument to Endurance with a number of great discard outlets in Boros, such as Fear of Missing Out and Guardian of New Benalia, you can generate a ton of value turn after turn. You can even discard Monument to one of these effects and bring it back with the reanimation spell Recommission, effectively giving you a discount on your Monument. In this deck, Josh fits right in. Not only is he a discard outlet himself, but the mass reanimate on his backside perfectly synergizes with all the looting you do in Boros Monument. Boros Monument is my sleeper pick for the most improved Standard deck coming out of Final Fantasy. But what is my number 1 pick from Final Fantasy? Well, the card that I've chosen on this list is far less splashy than some of my other picks, but its impact on Standard cannot be overstated. My pick for the number 1 card for Standard from Final Fantasy is Starting Town, a new rainbow land that enters tapped unless it's your first, second, or third turn of the game. You can tap Starting Town for colorless, or you can tap it and pay a life to add 1 mana of any color. In a sense, Starting Town is a fusion of the fast lands and the pain lands, 2 of the primary duels in Standard right now. But in some ways, it's the worst of both worlds. What do I mean by this? Well, pain lands are better played later in the game when the colored mana is less necessary, and they enter untapped unlike their fast land counterparts. Whereas the fast lands are inherently better early in the game, since that's where they're dual lands with no drawback. Starting Town, in contrast, has a drawback early and a drawback late, but even with this inherent downside, it is still my number 1 pick for Final Fantasy Standard. Look, we were right in picking Corey Steelcutter, so give me the benefit of the doubt while I explain why this is our number 1 pick. The reasoning is complex, but I'll try and explain this in as clear of terms as possible. It taps for any color of mana! Oh, and it can tap for colorless! Painful rainbow lands have been good in Magic forever, from City of Brass to Mana Confluence. These lands basically always come with the weakness that they pain you no matter what, even if the color they provide you is unnecessary for casting your spell. The only painful rainbow land with a painless, colorless buyout that's existed before is Grand Colosseum, and that land always enters tapped. This is a rainbow land that can be tapped for painless, colorless mana that will sometimes be an untapped mana source. That is enormous. It's huge. There are so many 3-color decks in Standard right now that are almost great, with one huge caveat. Their mana base is just awful. There are no triomes left in Standard, and a lot of these decks are going to be chomping at the bit to cut 4 of their pain lands for 4 copies of Starting Town. Will Starting Town spell the return of the once dominant Esper Pixie? It certainly could. Oh, one more thing about Starting Town. It's a town. If you pick it up off Town Greeter, you gain 2 life. Given you'll then be hitting yourself in the face each time you tap the town for colored mana, that 2 life gift is not insignificant. Starting Town goes in every aggressive 3-color deck and may even see play in aggressive 2-color decks that want access to the 4th dual land after the fast lands, Verges, and Pain lands. It's therefore extremely likely to be the most played Final Fantasy card in the upcoming Final Fantasy Pro Tour. If that doesn't make it the top Final Fantasy card in Standard, I don't know what does. But maybe you do, and I'd like to hear from you. Which Final Fantasy cards do you think will make the biggest waves in Standard? Are there any that I missed? Any on my list that you disagree with? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, we released our own Final Fantasy Standard episode of Shuffle Up and Play, where Gavin Verhey, Krim, and Numat the Nummy built Standard decks alongside myself to play against one another. Check out all the Standard Final Fantasy action here, or, just watch the latest Commander episode there. Commander's fun too, but here's us playing Final Fantasy Standard. Guess which one has higher views? It's 'cause of you, and the one you didn't watch. I'm just kidding. Just watch them both. Just watch them both, though. Watch them both. And remember, there's never been a better time to start getting a better night's sleep thanks to Helix Sleep's 4th of July exclusive partner offer. Premium quality mattresses delivered right to your door, and right now, if you use my URL, you get 27% off site-wide. Just go to helixsleep.com/Tolarian for this exclusive offer. A better night's sleep is not far away. Thank you, Helix, for sponsoring this video.
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
Today, I have brought in CEDH players, but we've built casual decks. I told you bracket 1.
You did not.
Yes, I did.
You said changing the rules.
You texted me. I came up with this content idea.
I thought it was just casual. I know it was a firm bracket.
Wait, what's yours? Is your higher
Mine's
bracket?
bracket 1.
Okay.
You're always bracket 1. No. Hang on. Do you normally just carry a Geiger counter around with you?
Did you buy this from Bethesda?
So, it's milk, right?
So it's after you draw. What you do for that is...
Thank you. Sorry. Yes.
I hate that.
That's much better. It makes.
I take 5, going down to...
I
I don't know what this is. What are you doing?
It's the tune Take 5. It's a jazz standard.
You got Brubeck.